All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, this college football season got off to a good start for Brian Kelly and LSU. It's for the first time in Baton Rouge. The Bayou Bengals won their first game of the season under him, and they did it on the road against a ranked team at the time in Clemson. But after LSU won their first four games of this season, things have not exactly been a bed of roses for Brian Kelly. After winning those first four games, LSU has dropped three out of their last four, all of those losses coming to ranked teams. And the worst loss was last night as we saw LSU lose at home to Texas A&M. And honestly, the Aggies beat the brakes off of LSU on their home field. Okay, and I knew that the writing was on the wall during towards the end of that game. You heard the Fire Kelly chants, and when it was all said and done, LSU is about to give him his walking papers. Okay, I could see it because it was not a good look for Brian Kelly when you see Tigers fans filing out of Tiger Stadium last night, well before that contest ended. And the ones who remained, okay, could be heard clearly chanting, Fire Kelly. Okay, and the cherry on the top of all of this was you go back to last night, the A&M fans that were there took over the LSU student section towards the end of the game. You basically had Texas A&M fans celebrating with the team on the field. They basically made it look and sound like Kyle Field in College Station. I guarantee you that did not sit well with the boosters and the power brokers at LSU. So now we're talking about an LSU team that is 5-3, and they really have almost little to no chance to go out there and win the SEC or get to the college football playoff, which honestly is unacceptable. That's a sin in Baton Rouge, okay? And I say this because we have seen coaches at LSU get fired for doing more than Brian Kelly did there. Don't get me wrong. In 3+ years at LSU, Brian Kelly was 34-13, while he was 19-10 in the SEC. And the folks in Baton Rouge got impatient. Why? Because again, no SEC championships, no appearances in the college football playoff, no national championship buzz. So remember, at LSU, prior to Brian Kelly, they ran Les Miles out of town, not for the fact that he didn't win. It was just the fact that he couldn't beat Nick Saban in Alabama. And then the guy that Brian Kelly replaced at LSU, Ed Orgeron, won a national championship in 2019, but by 2021, he was shown the door. So, what do you think was going to happen to Brian Kelly at LSU when his only signature win there came in his first year when the Tigers upset Alabama, of course, and got to the SEC championship game that year? Now, yes, Brian Kelly had immense success at Notre Dame. And honestly, I felt that Brian Kelly was the perfect fit for Notre Dame. And I was really shocked when I heard the news several years ago that he decided to leave Notre Dame for LSU because it's one of those where I really feel like Brian Kelly allowed his ego to get the best of him in South Bend. It's one of those when Brian Kelly went to Notre Dame. He went there after Cincinnati, and he went there and he went to a program that was looking to get revived and get back on the national scene. And at Notre Dame, the thing is, they wanted to be in contention and be thought of as far as like some of the prominent programs in college football. Totally get that, totally understand that. But at LSU, it's a different beast because it's not just about being in that mix. They want you to beat Alabama. They want you to beat Georgia. They want you to be among the top teams in the SEC, win the SEC, and get to the college football playoff and be right in that mix for the national championship. And of course, now with the expanded college football playoff, it's not like it was several years ago when we just had four programs. It's 12 bids for the college football playoff. And the fact that the calendar has not even gotten to November yet, and LSU is all but eliminated from the discussion as far as being a college football playoff participant once again. Again, like I said before, that is an unforgivable sin for the folks around this LSU program. So now, because Brian Kelly was a reach to begin with, in my opinion, at LSU, I really felt he was a fish out of water there. He's about to get his buyout to leave town, and he's about to get $54 million in duffel bags, bank wires, whatever way possible. But nonetheless, he's not going to be the coach at LSU anymore. And even if LSU were to run the table for the rest of the season, it was not going to be enough for Brian Kelly to save his job. Because let's be realistic, for LSU to run the table, they'd go 9-3. They would still be 5-3 in the SEC, and that ain't gonna be enough, okay, to make the folks there happy. So you look at it, plain and simple. There's just too much talent on this LSU team. There's too much football talent in the state of Louisiana. Period. Coming out of high school, for LSU to stumble the way that they have. So many struggles on offense this year. We're talking about an LSU offense that is barely cracking the top 100 in total yards. They only have 14 passing touchdowns on the season. That is not going to get it done. So I'm looking at LSU like this because this is going to be a very interesting coaching cycle because already, just from the power conferences alone, Penn State, Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, UCLA, Arkansas, and Florida are all looking for head coaches. And there's probably going to be several more openings between now and Thanksgiving. Okay, so now LSU is going to be in that mix. They have to pay Brian Kelly this buyout, and they might have to pay a buyout to get another coach to leave from another program, depending on who they're targeting to replace Brian Kelly. And then, of course, you still got to turn around and pay that guy. So there's going to be a lot of dollars exchanging hands on the Bayou in the next couple of weeks. So if you're LSU, where do you go from here? I think one name to keep an eye out for is going to be John Summerall at Tulane. He's a guy who has shown that he can win in that region, he can recruit in that region, and that's going to be key for LSU. Or would the Tiger faithful want another established name to come in there and lead this program? The bottom line is LSU wants somebody who is going to make sure that they not only keep up with Alabama and Georgia in the SEC, they want somebody who's going to go out there and beat these teams. They want somebody who's going to go out there and win SEC championships. They want somebody who's going to go out there and get them to the college football playoff. And of course, be in that national championship discussion. The SEC is a tough league to coach in because already we've got three schools that are going to be replacing their head coaches after this season, and it's not even November yet. Okay, but nonetheless, going to LSU, whomever takes that job, he is going to be in the pressure cooker because the expectations there are just not let's win 9 or 10 games and get a bowl bid. Because guess what? That's what Brian Kelly was doing, and he still lost his job. It's not going to be, finish in the top 10, and make us respectable because that's what Ed Orgeron and Les Miles were doing, and they still got canned. The bottom line is the expectations at LSU are through the roof. Yes, you are going to get paid handsomely. Okay, but if you can't live up to those expectations, they will show you the door. I know it's down on the bayou, but at the end of the day, they will show you the door in a New York minute. You knew it was real with Brian Kelly when there were discussions today that involved the governor of the state of Louisiana as far as moving on from the old ball coach at LSU. And again, like I said, when they got blown out last night by Texas A&M, and I saw the coverage from ABC, ESPN on this, where it, and even Kirk Herbstreit said it himself, it sounded like College Station. When I saw those images, okay, the LSU, I mean the Texas A&M team celebrating with their fans in the student section at Tiger Stadium. So many Aggie fans that were in attendance. I said, you know what, Brian Kelly's goose is cooked. And not even 24 hours later, LSU has told him, you know what, thank you for your services. Here's a nice parting gift. We are going in another direction. So at the end of the day, I said this, and I didn't put it out. Okay, but I'll say it right now. I said buyout money, and I said this a couple of weeks ago. Buyout money was coming in a big way to the college football scene this year, this season, and I think this is the tip of the iceberg because I think that there is more to come. But the bottom line is, when you are a coach at these big programs, you have lofty expectations to live up to, and especially in this era of the NIL, the transfer portal, the expanded college football playoff. The bottom line is you have to produce the results. Okay. And Brian Kelly, like I said before, Notre Dame, Brian Kelly could survive a 7-5, 8-4 year there, and nobody would blink because they knew, you know what, in a year or two, Notre Dame would be in a BCS game, or pardon me, a New Year's Six game. Nobody would blink an eye. Totally different at LSU. Okay, you are expected to get to the college football playoff each and every year. And the fact that he didn't even get one bid there, that's not a good look for him. But nonetheless, this is going to be talked about much in the coming weeks. I'm really going to be interested to see who LSU gets to replace Brian Kelly. But like I said, the writing was on the wall. The final nail was put in the coffin last night, courtesy of Texas A&M. And but the bottom line is, Brian Kelly has $54 million to leave LSU, but let's see who the Tigers open up the vault for to be their next ball coach. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw in this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. Like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you give me that follow, it'll be my pleasure to give you that follow right back in return. And the same goes for Instagram, where you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you're on Facebook, be sure to check out the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.